Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Karkadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and the Son begat the Son Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lash Karkadash tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, wa Akim, wa Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of this recent news article that I want to bring out. As we've been seeing, as of recently, we've been seeing, I would say for the past 2.5 weeks, and as of now, we've been seeing recently increasing airstrikes from the Israel Defense Force targeting the Hezbollah over there in Lebanon. Despite the fact they have a ceasefire deal, what they had, I believe it's like last November and all the way into now. So it's been like a year now. The ceasefire been going on between Hezbollah and the Israelis. So ever since then, they've been doing airstrikes between the Hezbollah headquarters over there in Lebanon. So I just want to add a side note to that. And as I mentioned, once again, this is a news article from Reuters.com. As of November the 6th, 2025 at 2:01 p.m. Central Standard Time, updated 29 minutes ago. It says Israel launched airstrikes on South Lebanon, says it's targeting Hezbollah. It says ceasefire deals was meant to end fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Evacuations order issued for several locations in southern Lebanon. It says Hezbollah committed to ceasefire but retained rights to resist Israel. It says from Beirut of Lebanon, November 6th, by Reuters, it says the Israelis carried out heavy airstrikes on southern Lebanon on Thursday. And that comes, I would say, what was like last week ago. You had the leaders of Lebanon said they're not going to give up their weaponries, not in a peaceful way. As I add a sad note to that as well too, it says after issuing evacuation orders for several locations, saying Lebanese army group Hezbollah was trying to rebuild its military capabilities there. The orders and strikes came despite the ceasefire deal agreed a year ago that was meant to end more than a year of fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah, and after months of the Lebanese army efforts to clear Hezbollah sites in the south. They said giving a preliminary toll, Lebanese health ministry says that one person was wounded in the afternoon bombing. At least one person was unalive. Strikes in early in the day. The Israeli spokesperson Check Argari issued 3 simultaneous evacuations orders on X at 3 p.m. local 1300 GMT time on Thursday, with a map showing the buildings of the villages of Al-Tia, Al-Jabal. It says Al-Taliel Ba and the Teria Debia, if I pronounced that right. It says 2 more orders came later in other towns in the south. It says the locations range from just 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles away from the Israeli borders, near the 24 kilometers north to the frontier. The post order range to keep 500 infantry and 6,150 foot distance from the identical locations. Lebanese civil defense helped people to evacuate, the Lebanese state news agency says. The airstrikes began about an hour after the orders sent thick plumes of smoke into the sky. It said fears has been mounting in Lebanon that Israel could resume a full-blown aerial bombing campaign, particularly after Israeli leaders warned that they would take actions against Hezbollah if Lebanon does not step up its efforts to disarm the groups. It says we are in a very dangerous situation if they keep heading this way. It says then all this hope is lost. No one knows where the consequences of these matters will lead, said the Farad Najjar, mayor of Debia. It says, which Israel has carried out frequent strikes targeting what it says are military sites and groups members presented in South Lebanon over that last year that may rarely come in evacuation orders. Israel will continue to defend all its borders and will continue also to insist of the full enforcement of the ceasefire agreement between Lebanon and Israel. Israel governor spokesperson told reporters on Thursday the Bashar in Israel will not allow Hezbollah rearm or to recover the military strength that was shattered by Israel's ground air in 2023-2024. Hezbollah said that on Thursday it was committed to the ceasefire, but it retained a legitimate right to resist Israel. It has refused to disarm in full, but has not obstructed the army's efforts in the south and has not fired on Israel since the trust deal came in force last year. It says the United Nations interim force in Lebanon said that the Israeli airstrikes constitute clear violation of the Security Council Resolution 1701 adopted in 2006 with the aim of keeping peace along with the Lebanon-Israel border. We call on Israel to immediately cease these attacks, which they're not going to do, and all violations of Resolution 1701 likewise will urge Lebanese actors to refrain from any response that could inflame that situation further, the UNIFIL added in a statement. The Lebanese Army's statement condemns these strikes, calling them a continual of the enemy destructive approach. It says at undermining Lebanese stability and widening destruction in the south. The evacuations warnings concluded with a meeting with the Lebanese cabinet to hear an update from armies and commanders Radolf Halikah on progress and the confiscated Hezbollah arms depths. It says in southern Lebanon, the army said it could clear all of the southern Lebanon's arms outside the state controlled by the end of the year. Two senior Lebanese security officials told Reuters hours before the heavy strikes on Thursday that the troops were making shifter progress every month and disarm. It says the strikes on Thursday destroyed an ironworks of business in the southern Lebanon town of al-Bashiyah. The shops were supporting 5 of the 6 households over all the 5 to 6 homes, said Ahmad al-Qaria, who owned the business. Brother, what does a blacksmith do for heaven's sake? Chairs, tables, doors, windows, railings. What does he make? That's the blacksmith's job. So these are signs of wars or rumors of wars. But I'm going to bring out that First Thessalonians 5 verse 3. Ever since that peace deal between Hezbollah and Hezbollah and the Israelis, ever since November, and all the way into last year of November, all the way to this year of November. So ever since then, you've been having Hezbollah, the Israel Defense Force been using those airstrikes on the armies over there in Lebanon, especially the southern part. So they kind of think that potentially, the Hezbollah army potentially, rebuilding their military over there in southern Lebanon. So ever since then, the tension has been mounting between Hezbollah and the Israel Defense Force. Because you had the Israelis from their side, they said they holding on to the peace deal. Ever since then, they haven't used any strikes against the Israel Defense Force, and not resisting. So they were saying that they have a right to defend themselves, despite the fact they're not trying to rebuild over there, trying to have some military headquarters. But they were saying in the statement they have a right to defend themselves, they have a right to resist back, So that potentially it might increase once again, just like that war back in Israel and Lebanon back in 2006. It might potentially like get back to that point once again after they signed that deal, twice after the end of that war in 2006, and then this recent war as well too. Now it seems like it might be potentially getting back to that point once again. And this is First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, such destruction come upon them, as the dread womb child shall escape. And this is what Apostle Paul was mentioning. So that shows you that you still gonna have these tensions between Hezbollah and Hamas together going against the Israel Defense Force, because you're still going to have the Israel Defense Force continue to do a multi-front war over there in Western Asia. Because you had, as I was reading the comments of the paragraphs of those sentences, it was saying that they're going to continue to use their campaign airstrikes against Hezbollah. They potentially building headquarters over there, according to them. Now, if that's true or not. So ever since then, most likely they've been breaking the ceasefire, because Hezbollah on their side, they said they haven't broken any trust ever since they had that peace deal of last year of November. So ever since then, the Israel Defense Force has been breaking that ceasefire trust, And then you had on the Hezbollah side, they said they have a right to they have a right to resist, to protect themselves, because they are not rebuilding headquarters, So, and Hezbollah said they're not going to fully 100% peacefully remove their arms, because they still catching enemy threat from the Israelis, So that shows that the tensions are only going to stir up between Hezbollah versus the Israel Defense Force, especially over there in Lebanon and over there in the Gaza Strip, West Bank, Palestinian territory, but the whole area. So tensions are only going to continue to mount, and they want multi-front war of the Israel Defense Force doing over there in Syria and over there in Lebanon as well too. And this is the book of Matthew chapter 24 in verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, that's what we're hearing, wars and rumors of wars. Hezbollah versus the Israelis, despite the fact they have that ceasefire agreement. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but they was not yet. And this is Matthew 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, right? The Israelis versus Hezbollah and Hamas and the pro-Iranian groups. That's what you call nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which goes into ethnos. But nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So with that, hopefully this news article was edifying of the latest tensions heating up once again between the Israel Defense Force versus Hezbollah, as they continue to target Hezbollah headquarters over there in southern Lebanon, as they mentioned that potentially Hezbollah might rebuild headquarters over there in the area, and they're not going to give up their nuclear arms, So that shows that the tensions are only going to increase, despite the fact they have a ceasefire, which is an agreement that lasts for a year. So that ceasefire potentially might be in jeopardy. So as it says again, Israel launches airstrikes on South Lebanon, said it is targeting Hezbollah. So once again, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem. We're called Kadash, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh. And his only begotten son, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lost One Kadash tongue. And I say Barak Adam to the elders and apostles, while I came to next time I would say Shalom.